You should see that we're live now.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, or depending on what part of the world you're tuning in from, we're going live today to wrap up our Q&A sessions that we've been doing for the last couple weeks with predominant leaders on campus to talk about our reopening plans, online learning, all of that good stuff as we get into the start of our fall term, which is just a week and a half or so away. And so today I have with me from our Center for Student Experience, Celeste, and she'll be talking about our orientation program for those of you who are new incoming students, but also for our returning students. We'll be talking a little bit more about kind of what CSE has planned for the fall in terms of keeping you all engaged virtually as well. And so I'm going to bring Celeste up in just a moment, and we'll go into a couple of questions. And if you're just tuning in and you're new to these Q&A sessions we've been doing the last few weeks, once again, my name is Tim Campos, Director of Recruitment Programs and Outreach at Art Center in the Admissions Office. And so I've been taking over the last couple of weeks just to bring you all this really engaging content and answer your questions. And so thanks for those of you who asked questions in advance of today. But again, hi Celeste, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? Hi, world.
So you probably have received confirmations, emails, communications from the Center for Student Experience, CSE, and from Celeste and her team regarding orientation if you're a new incoming student. And then if you're returning students, everyone knows Celeste, and so welcome.
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me today. And hi, all of our new students and our continuing students who I see are joining us live. It's so good to see your names pop up on the screen. I miss all of you.
We miss everyone. And so to get things started, we'll first start off talking a little bit more regarding for any new incoming students. We'll talk about orientation, and then we'll get into returning students and what they can expect for fall in our new format. And so to start things off, maybe Celeste, you can walk us through, all of our incoming students should already have the information they need regarding orientation, and there are some preliminary things they need to take care of. But maybe you can tell us what are some of those preliminary things, some things they should keep in mind before next week, and then next week, what would that look like for orientation?
For sure. I'm happy to walk everybody through it a little bit. There's a lot of steps, and I think that just comes with, going to college. I think there's a lot of things that we need to balance and manage, and a lot of data that we just have to give people. So all of our new students can find the full platform and information on our fall 2020 orientation inside page, which everyone should have gotten access to that link. I've emailed it a few times to our new admits. So on that orientation homepage for fall 2020, you'll find a pre-orientation checklist. It has 9 items that we just ask that you review and go through. We also have a mandatory language placement assessment that needs to be completed by the 7th of September for undergraduate students. And if you continue down that orientation inside page, you run into our mandatory platform, which is generally taking students 1 to 2 hours to complete all of those mandatory lessons. There's really great contact information and peer experience and all the videos that the orientation leaders spent time making this semester for the new students. And then we end the orientation week, which technically ends next week, with all of our live Zoom sessions. So students will actually have the opportunity to be in Zoom rooms with current students who are orientation leaders for panel discussions, student socials, department orientations, and a orientation leader portfolio review, so that we can highlight our different tracks and resources that are available through our services on campus. So it's a really robust and well-rounded orientation program that has some self-guided points that need to be taken care of, as well as the mandatory presentation, and then the live Zooms, which we're really excited to see everybody next week. So.
Yeah, you described it well. I was just going to say it's a really robust system that we were able to put together. So yeah, everyone will be online for orientation next week. So just a reminder, even if you're doing on campus with us, do not come to campus. Everything is online for orientation, no matter what learning path you're choosing for this fall.
For
Yeah,
sure.
there's some really good content on there. Some of the same stuff, some newer stuff, and I myself have taken a look at it, so I can contest to
Thank you.
that. Pretty good stuff going on. And also
Thank
for
you.
orientation, just as a friendly reminder, everyone who's a new incoming student, whether you're domestic, international, transfer, every incoming new student, undergrad, grad, participates in orientation, correct?
Yes, Tim. Yeah, the platform is really built, the entire program essentially is really built for all of our new students, whether you're coming in advanced standing as a graduate student, undergraduate student, no matter your designation as international or domestic, whether you're studying in our hubs or whether you will be fully remote. The program is really built to give a foundation for student success. So our hope is that you will revisit all of the materials that are presented during orientation throughout the life of your Art Center career, because really these are all resources that are set in place to help you. And I've worked really hard with the orientation team to think about how we design a platform and a program that connects all the dots.
Right.
So hopefully you'll find all the links to technology and discounted software, as well as information on your academic department and your orientation leaders. I feel like we have a little something for everybody, and it's a good place to start. But like I said, it should be something that you access for the duration of your career at Art Center, because it never goes out of style to know who to reach out to and get answers to your questions. So the more we can get comfortable communicating with each other, I just think the easier it'll be for everybody.
Right. And I know for some of you who are joining us, maybe not necessarily in person for this for the fall, you maybe opted for online. And for some of you, I know because you reach out to us in admissions that you still haven't even been to campus yet physically. And so we understand that. And so there's some other pieces on that orientation
There are.
that you can engage with in terms of there's a quick student-led tour video. There's some other documents for like self-guided tours that you can check out. So if you're trying to orient yourself with different buildings and different resources so that once you're on campus with us, you at least have somewhat of a sense that's not all going to be new to you. So I think that's also going to be helpful for all of you.
Definitely. I think on that mandatory platform, and Tim, you were so helpful in providing a lot of those links, and the information that admissions really does push out to our new admits is so beautifully curated that I hope that on the platform, all of our new admits really do take advantage of clicking all of the different things that we have allowed access to there. The self-guided tours were even helpful to me because things change at Art Center often. And so layouts and understanding where our resources are, it's important to always stay refreshed with that information. So the self-guided tours that were built really are beautiful.
And I'm sure that'll change a little bit as we go into the next term, as I oversee all of our tour guides and train them. So I know that things are constantly changing around, but also want to give a quick plug for our student designer on those guides, Aaron Estrada from graphics. He helped with those. So thanks again,
Awesome.
Aaron, for tuning in.
Thanks, Aaron.
Celeste, I wanted to ask about orientation leaders, current students, because they're definitely a really big part of orientation and just really acclimating new students to campus at Art Center and just life. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the importance of orientation leaders, kind of what that looks like. And for those who, I always know we have new students who are so eager to give back and they want to participate and they have a great experience that they want to then become an orientation leader. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about orientation leaders, but also for those who might in the future want to become an orientation leader, what does that look like and when are they eligible?
Sure. So for me, the orientation leaders really are just an extension of the Center for Student Experience. They are my key team when we're building orientation. So I hire approximately 100 orientation leaders over the course of an academic year. So for the 3 terms. For this fall, we have 40 orientation leaders hired, and they represent all undergraduate majors as well as 3 out of the 7 graduate majors. So we have at least 1 representative from all of those majors, but in most cases we have upwards of 8, for instance, for illustration, because there's so many new admits coming in. The role of an orientation leader in this remote world where we're now transitioning for our orientation activities really does play a part in building all of the digital assets. So all of the PDFs of information and videos that where we review our resources and student experiences were all built by our integrated teams within the orientation leader group. So I try very hard to make sure that our students are working with each other across majors, across skill sets, and we try to build things that are available for everybody. So the role of an orientation leader really is to share their experience, to help all of our new students find their own individual paths at Art Center, which is so important, I think, for your individual success. There's no one right way to do your education at Art Center. So I think the more you can be in touch with orientation leaders, the more opportunities you can see you'll have access to. For anyone who wants to become an orientation leader, applications go out every single semester. We hire for the next term in the current term. So this fall, we'll be releasing applications for our spring 2021 orientation program, and we'll invite all undergraduate students to apply for that orientation team because we typically don't bring in graduate students in the spring. Sometimes that changes, so we're always flexible. In the past, our orientation leaders also helped to lead the in-person panel discussions and classroom presentations and acted as directional guides and had lunch with the new students just to be social. So I'm excited once this pandemic starts to clear and we're able to get more access to campus to see how that part comes back to life again. But the orientation leaders this semester have been working for the last 7 weeks to really build this experience for the new students. And they are so excited. I actually just got off a Zoom call with a group of them this morning, and they're preparing for the graduate student social on Tuesday. And really, they couldn't be happier to meet everyone. They're very excited about everything they've built, and they're very excited about everything they have to share with you. So it's a wonderful experience. I always feel so privileged that I get to work with so many amazing students. So I hope you all apply. Come be a part of my team.
Yeah. No, I can also contest to that too. Many of your orientation leaders end up being some of my tour guides, and I think we have some really amazing student leaders on campus. And so if any of you orientation leaders are tuning in right now, again, thank you, everyone. We understand it's an interesting time to not only get ready for orientation, but in this new format. So we really do appreciate our student leaders who are helping out and really getting ready to welcome our new students to campus and returning as well. And so kind of pivoting, we talked about orientation. I know there's a lot going on next week. So incoming students, you have a lot to look forward to next week. Make sure you're virtually present. We will make sure that you're present and checking with you. But kind of shifting gears a bit. And so I want to talk about maybe you can walk us through, Celeste, a little bit about what are some typical programs that you do, throughout any given term, whether it's fall, spring, summer, and kind of how you've shifted that a bit in this new virtual format that students returning or new can expect coming from your office and your team in the fall.
Yeah, no problem. So the Center for Student Experience really does work to help students acclimate to campus in and out of the classroom. I'm just one staff member amongst many in the office, but my main role, for those of you who are joining us who are new to Art Center, not only do I oversee orientation, but I also am responsible for helping clubs, organizations, student government, and running some of our traditional campus programming, as well as our Student Success Workshop series. So a lot of my work, Tim, lent itself well to this transition of remote connection. Other than I just love people and I miss my community and I miss seeing everybody every day. But quite honestly, skill building workshops are still happening. We have almost a 5-page calendar so far of events that we welcome students to participate in. They happen at all hours of the day, knowing that we are all over the world and need access at different times.
Right.
But students can look forward to a very traditional club fair. It will just happen remotely. We last semester had about a dozen active clubs. Our most active was our newest club, which was a Dungeons and Dragons club. and they held
We had someone
weekly.
asking about that recently. I
Yes,
used
yeah,
to.
it was great. They even held a session just for faculty and got so much interest that they had to run a second game. So it was really beautiful to watch that club blossom in this remote experience last semester, which I don't know if they would have been so successful in previous terms when we would have been on campus. So it's kind of nice to make room for new things. I think the beauty of being an artist and a designer, which I studied fine art for my undergrad and my grad, so I say this knowingly, is that we always have to be ready for change. We always have to be flexible and keep our eyes on what's happening in the world. And we have to try new things and meet new people. And that's how we develop our language as artists and designers. So really, it was almost like a beautiful experiment of how could I repackage the things we're doing. But students, like I said, can look forward to a virtual club fair, lots of skill building workshops. We'll have some social experiences. In the fall semester, this is just a little bit about me personally, Halloween is my favorite holiday.
Yeah.
And for staff and some current students that might be with us live today, you'll know that I tend to dress up every Friday for the month of October. So usually 5 costumes. So knowing that we won't be on campus this October, I still wanted to celebrate a little bit. So we'll be doing a virtual costume contest running from a few days before Halloween through the Day of the Dead, where students can submit photos on Instagram to student government, and we'll be raffling off gift cards and prizes to Amazon and the student store. And so I'm really excited to see what people can bring to the table all around the world. I'm really, it makes me so happy to meet everybody. And I think these little things that we can do where we can show our personalities and we can engage even in a virtual platform allows us to make lifelong friends and connections that we don't even know how they will help us in the future, whether personally or professionally. So I'm really excited about everything that we're doing, but we'll push out that activities calendar in week 1 and hope that everyone joins us.
Yeah, no, I think one of the things you mentioned that I want to just reiterate is you said it best, the beauty of it. And just for any of you tuning in who are kind of new to arts and are an incoming new student, we just wrapped up our summer term that was fully online. And so a lot of the
Yes.
programming that Celeste is talking about, we've already piloted and continued and done, virtually throughout our last 14-week summer term. And so it's just continuing it for the fall, ramping it up even more, and welcoming even a larger incoming student class than we did for summer as well. And so there's that.
Yes.
But then also, as you mentioned, I think one of the things that I valued most being a part of the arts and nerd community, and we all have different roles in different departments, but just being a part of a creative community, we all bring, as you mentioned, with your background, my background as well, we all bring this different type of creative mix or flair into what it is that we do, and having to think creatively and sometimes it's overused, but really thinking outside the box and really trying to figure out some of these pieces. I think it's been really a beautiful thing to see, to have, to be a part of this creative community and all of us coming together with the intention of making sure that we are providing the best possible opportunities for our continuing students and our new students as well. And so you all are always top of mind for anything and everything that we do. So
Thanks,
uh,
Tim. I'd also just love to add, there's so many other departments that are running events as well, and they'll be
right.
captured on that calendar. But no, for all the new students, I want you to know, we know that there's many ways that you will choose to engage, and not everyone is ready to jump into a social experience in their first 2 weeks of the term. So know that if you're just interested in building your skill sets, whether they be soft skills or hard skills based in your academics, we have things for that too. If you're interested in learning more about your identity or how diversity plays a part in our world and our roles as artists and designers, we have events for that too. If you're interested in learning more about the library services, we have workshops about that too. So I feel like I could go on and on, but there really is a little something for everyone.
Right.
So I hope that all of our new students can see that we've tried to make space for every identity, for every personality type. And we're willing to hear you. So if there is something that you want to see, you can start a club. If there's something that you want to build with the CSE or any other department in terms of an event or a workshop, we're happy to talk with you and build that out for a future term. So really, again, communication is just the key, I think, to all of us being successful. But it really is a very robust events calendar. So I'm excited to see what everybody participates in.
And in terms of, and so we talked about all the different types of programs that students can expect, both new and returning. But are there any aspects, and I think it's fair for all of us to kind of go through that and ask ourselves, but have there been any aspects as you've shifted to this new environment that have been challenging, as again, because our focus, especially for you and your team, given that your focus is on our students, have there been any challenges in trying to rethink any aspect of it to make sure that, again, that we're providing at the end of the day those outcomes that you're tasked with to make sure that our students are receiving that particular guidance, both, emotionally, their well-being, all those different pieces that your office really supports, and making sure that our students are, focusing on themselves outside of the studio as well, engaging. And so, yeah, I guess it's just a curiosity. Have there been any challenges that you've had to kind of work around, but also think about things differently that at the end of the day are actually might turn out better?
Yes, of course. I think that we've all experienced challenges, whether they be professionally or personally, in the last 6 months, as we around the world have had to do things different and live our lives different. But I say at Art Center, the thing that I've noticed the most with the remote transition is everything takes just a little bit more time. Because there's less in-person interactions, I can't just walk you to the office that would solve the problem. So sometimes it takes 4 emails, and it could take more than 24 hours. Whereas in the past, I want to help everybody as fast as I can, in the best way that I can. And so definitely timing has been a little bit of a challenge. Everything takes a little bit more energy, a little bit more effort, and there is more individual responsibility. So for instance, even with orientation, if we look at those pre-orientation checklist items that all the new students need to do, those are things that we would have just naturally processed if we were in person. But now they need the direct attention of the new students prior to orientation week. So yeah, just leaving some more time. I think another challenge is Art Center is a very busy place. We have a lot to do and only 14 weeks to do it.
And we bring in 3 classes.
3 times a year. Exactly. So we bring in 3 classes and we graduate 3 classes every 14 weeks. So I think for me, being around everyone in our community helps that feel more human. And when I'm working from home, man, I could just work all day. I could just work forever. There is just so much work to do. And I know that our students feel that pressure as well. The 14 weeks for them is the same 14 weeks for me. My 5 classes just happen to be outside of the classroom usually. But I think making time for your mental wellness is really important. Spending this much time in isolation. Some of us don't even live with partners or with pets. So it's spending a lot of time by yourself. We need that human connection. You need to find a study group or find a social group, or consider doing some mental wellness counseling for yourself on a regular basis. Finding connection points to remember what it's like to be out in the world, sharing ideas with people, learning from new experiences. That can't happen it can't happen as easily when you're by yourself in a room.
Yeah, now more than ever is important. I mean, something I always tell the students that I work with who are now here is make sure they're connecting with you all through CSC, taking advantage of the programming. Again, maybe it's not right away, but the importance of self-care has always been important. We try to remind our students as much as possible, but now more than ever. Again, whether you're doing it remotely or even coming to campus this term, self-care is going to be important. So really, please make sure you take advantage of any or all, if you choose, the programming that Celeste in her office offers
Yeah.
throughout the term. There's some
And
good stuff.
definitely, I think thinking about what self care means for you as an individual is really important. And defining that for yourself is really important, because it's not just bubble baths and eating chocolate. That's not necessarily the self care that I'm talking about. I love both of those things.
Yeah.
But I also love the time that I spend with my mental health therapist or with my family or talking to my mom, going for walks in the morning. So just make time to separate from your screen and be with people. I think that is really how we stay as well as we can, in this particular challenge. But I
And on
think
that
that's
note, Celeste,
important to remember always.
right, exactly. And so on that note, Celeste, and I know you'll probably cover it for the new students next week during orientation, but just as a friendly reminder for even returning students, what type of access do they have in this particular environment that we're in now in terms of counseling services on campus, and what does that look like, or any new processes, or in terms of requesting counseling services?
Sure. So for our new students who might not have been able to navigate through the mandatory platform yet for orientation, you'll find more information there about this. But I'll just highlight that all current students, anyone who's in term, can have access to up to 5 mental health counseling appointments with our on-campus therapists. They are meeting with students remotely. In this time of working remotely, some of our practices have changed, as you might have guessed, Tim. So they are only seeing students, I believe, who are residents of California because they are licensed in the state of California. The good news for everyone who is outside of the state of California is you all have been registered for the Aetna Student Health Insurance Plan. It's a mandatory component when you're a registered student at Art Center that you be insured through this student health insurance that we coordinate through Aetna. Through Aetna, you have access to providers for mental health therapy at a really excellent rate. The health insurance program is pretty fantastic for our students. And they can see people all over the world. And many therapists are doing remote meetings. So I know that we can meet on Zoom, or they're meeting through telehealth and doing phone calls. So all of our current students will have access to mental health therapy, whether through our on-campus providers or through our off-campus providers, as long as they are in network. But I also encourage people to sign up for a yoga class and participate in some of our meditation workshops, and really think about their nutrition and things like that, because that does definitely play a part in how sound our mental health can be. And I think a lot of times it's just important for students, I think, to hear you don't need to be struggling to get help.
Right.
It's really important just to have someone to talk to about what you're experiencing. And that doesn't necessarily always need to be a friend or a family member. So just reach out and take advantage of the services that are provided to you. Students reach out to me all the time, and I'm not a therapist at all, but I'm happy to just be friends. Let's talk through what you're experiencing. And I know many of the staff feel the exact same way that I do. So
No, I'm
definitely
one of them
take
too,
advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, so whoever you for our new and returning students too, any friendly, familiar faces that you recognize, please reach out to us. If we don't know the answer, we'll point you towards the resource and a particular individual who might. But again, we want to make sure that first and foremost that our students are doing well and staying engaged, but maintaining their health as well. It's really important. So don't be afraid to reach out at any given time. Just being mindful of time, we want to wrap up and give opportunity for anyone who's tuning in who might have any questions for Celeste regarding either orientation or programming from CSE for the fall. Give you another minute or so. I did see one come up, which sparked a question for me. Someone had asked about dorms or residence halls. We don't have that yet. That's future, and I think pandemic has probably put some of that stuff to the side. But it gave me a question to ask you, Celeste, because I do know for some of our new students who maybe aren't starting with us in person this fall, but they're doing remote, for them, I know, for them, they're thinking about then, okay, I'm going to be with you all in person in the spring. And so for anyone who's going to still need to utilize housing resources and locating housing in the coming months as they prepare to join us in person in the spring, for example, what are some of those housing resources that your office offers, and how can they locate those resources?
Sure. So currently we offer 3 off-site resources. That's the best way that I could think to say it.
Right.
Students have access to find those resources on the main.edu page. So if you just go to artcenter.edu, and on the top tabs, I believe there's one that says Student Life. If you hover over Student Life, you'll see one that says Housing. By clicking that tab, you'll get access to the 3 off-site resources. One is most specifically for international students, because without a social security number or the availability of doing a credit check, sometimes it can be difficult to secure an apartment. So the one that's there for international students is very helpful. We also have access to an off-campus housing website, which people all around Pasadena and the Los Angeles area who own homes or apartments, who have guest houses and pool houses and things of that nature, they'll post their availability on that off-campus site. And then the third resource that we have is a Facebook page currently. We are looking to expand to do some Zoom connections next semester, as we know more people will be comfortable traveling and relocating. Just to help students find roommates. But the Facebook page in particular mostly sees postings from our current students. So any of our new students who are looking to live with current students, not necessarily on their own or in an apartment with somebody that doesn't go to Art Center, that really is your best resource for sublets, joining current apartments with current students. And I know that we've already connected probably about 50 students through that resource just in the last couple of weeks. And students can move at any time. So even the students who are coming in for fall, you might be considering remote now and continue remote for the rest of the term, but still maybe move to Pasadena in October or November.
Right.
Great, those resources are available for you as well. One of the staff members in the CSE, her name is Cecilia Lopez. She's our direct connection to those housing resources. So if you email the CSE or you email Cecilia directly, or even me, I'll get you to the place that you need to go. But the housing resources are best accessed from the .edu page.
Perfect. Well, I didn't see any other questions. That was the one question about housing, and then it got me to ask your question. But yeah, that's a good point. If you're doing it online for the fall, doesn't mean you have to wait until January to start thinking about housing. If you want to get a leg up on it early on, depending on your own schedule, there's nothing to say that you couldn't do that a little bit early to make the transition a little bit smoother. And so given, we understand everyone has different individual circumstances. So just, when in doubt, connect with us if you have any additional questions. But I think that's probably it for questions. Is there anything that you wanted to add, Celeste, that I didn't ask that you thought might be helpful for either a new or returning student that they should keep in mind, be mindful of?
No, I think it's all outlined really on the inside page, and I can't stress enough for our new students how important it is to just read everything we send you. I guess that's my tip is
We know it's a lot, but read it all, please.
Yes, yeah. I make my orientation leaders laugh, I think, when I say I don't type it for fun. But I've crafted these messages on purpose. So please read them. I don't include anything that you don't need to know. And all of the steps that we've outlined on the inside page do need to be accomplished before the first day of school. So please just follow all the prompts and check in the best that you can, and reach out if you have any questions. I guess that's the other thing is there is no stupid question. I'd rather you ask a million things and know than not know at all. So I'm here to help, and I can't wait to meet everybody.
And so one last question that came in, I think it's an important question. It says,
Sure.
LAUSD is giving out laptops and hotspots to students. Any plans for offering something like that for students? yes, there will be, if not already, communication going out regarding technology. And so for some students, we understand may need additional technology support. So there's a couple different things there in terms of potential resources you can check out reserve, and also potential resources for upgrading internet speed as well. And so that information, if it hasn't already been distributed, is forthcoming, right?
Yes, I actually found out a little bit about a couple of extra things that are happening. And our new students will be able to get access to that information at their department orientation, which will happen live on Zoom next week on Wednesday. But what I can tell you is that starting next week, when you meet with your departments, you'll get a better understanding of what hardware and software you need to be successful in your first term and your continuing terms. And then you'll be able to reach out to our Educational Media Center, our EMAC, to see if there's anything that they can help you with securing as a rental. And yes, we have software discounts. I believe there will be a stipend that's offered to students who are in need of a faster internet speed, but that will be on a first come, first serve basis and depending on the need of the student. And I know that information will be reviewed in the live sessions next week. And then the college is really, really great about pushing out information through all student emails. So I would just say to check your all student email at least once a day for updates of that nature, especially at the beginning of the term. And the end of the term, because we'll be getting ready for scheduling and registration. But definitely there are some things that we are making available to students, again, on a first come, first serve basis, because we don't have enough for everyone. But I think that just reaching out and learning more next week will start the ball rolling.
Great. Well, that about does it for time. I want to thank Celeste for being with us today and talking about orientation, talking about Center for Student Experience and all the great programming they have coming up for the fall. Again, no matter if you're joining us in person or virtually, all of our programming will be available online, virtually, right? And
Yes.
so I want to thank you, Celeste. And for those of you who may have been joining in for the past couple of weeks, as I've interviewed, done Q&As with different members of our campus regarding the upcoming fall term, I thank you for tuning in, and it's been great. We wanted to make sure that you have all the information as you're getting ready. Again, whether you're a new incoming student or you're a returning student, wanted to make sure that, for those of you who choose to receive your information via Instagram, that you have at least this as another area to receive that information. But again, whether you're a new student or a returning student, please, please, please check your email. A lot of information will be sent, and we understand that, but probably a lot of the questions you have are somewhere buried in your emails that you may or may not be checking. And so if you're not in the habit now, get in the habit of checking that student email. Yeah. Thanks again, Celeste, and thank you all for joining us. If you have any more questions, again, this is our last live Q&A session before we start the fall. But next week, as a reminder, September 8th starts orientation for new students, undergrad and grad. It is mandatory. And then officially September 12th begins the first official day of our fall term for the 2020 term. So we're excited to welcome you all either in person or virtually. If you have any last questions that we didn't get to over the last couple of weeks, you can still email environmental health and safety. So ehs@artcenter.edu, and they'll be able to take your questions that you might have regarding the upcoming fall term.
For sure. Okay, thank you so much.
Celeste.
Yeah,
take care,
see
everyone.
you soon.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.